On August 11, 1934, the first group of federal prisoners classified as most dangerous is moved to Alcatraz Island in San Francisco Bay. But how did Alcatraz come to be the nation's most notorious prison? And what was the island used for before it was a prison? Also, what can you see if you visit Alcatraz today? Additionally, is there anything to see in the basement? For thousands of years, Alcatraz Island was uninhabited and only occasionally visited by indigenous peoples. Spanish explorer Juan Manuel de Ayala mapped San Francisco Bay in 1775 and named the desolate rocky island La Isla de los Alcatraces, which means the island of the Seabirds. California officially became part of the United States at the end of the Mexican-American War in 1848. The U.S. government had begun studying possible uses for Alcatraz the previous year, but it was the California Gold Rush of 1849 that prompted the construction of a lighthouse and fortifications on the island, as San Francisco transformed from a sleepy village to a major port through which passed massive wealth and large numbers of passengers. In 1850, the military proposed a three-point defensive plan for San Francisco Bay, which would include a fortification on Alcatraz Island and a large fort on each side of the narrow entrance to the bay known as the Golden Gate. The famous bridge across that channel wouldn't be constructed until the 1930s. By the time the American Civil War erupted in 1861, Alcatraz had fortifications that included a citadel on the island's highest point, as well as a guardhouse and sally port, and it was equipped with 111 smoothbore cannons. 400 soldiers were stationed on the island to help protect San Francisco from potential Confederate raids. As early as 1859, the military began housing prisoners on the island. As the defenses on Alcatraz became obsolete, the fort was formally decommissioned in 1907. Soon, the Army began tearing down the old citadel. Using the basement of that citadel as a foundation, a new military prison was constructed on the site. During the Great Depression of the 1930s, the newly created Federal Bureau of Prisons decided to use the island as a high-profile, maximum security prison, and the facility was transferred from the War Department to the Department of Justice. In 1934, the first civilian prisoners were sent to the new high-security penitentiary on the island. Over the course of its history, Alcatraz housed some of America's most notorious criminals, including Chicago gang leader Al Capone and bootlegger and kidnapper Machine Gun Kelly. Alcatraz was known for its harsh conditions and nearly escape-proof design, and soon became nicknamed The Rock. In all, 1,545 men did time on Alcatraz. Most had attempted to escape from or been troublemakers at other federal prisons. Of the 14 attempted escapes at Alcatraz, the best known occurred in June 1962, when Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin managed to get out of the prison and into San Francisco Bay. They had fashioned fake heads out of soap, toilet paper, concrete dust, and real human hair from the prison barbershop to delay the discovery that they were out of their cells. Although they made it off the island on a makeshift raft constructed from prison raincoats, it is still unknown whether the escapees survived the treacherous waters of San Francisco Bay. The prison at Alcatraz was closed in 1963 due to high operational costs and deteriorating facilities. In 1969, the island gained prominence as a site of Native American activism, when it was occupied by indigenous protesters demanding the return of native land. Developers had actually proposed turning Alcatraz into a high-end resort. That 19-month Native American occupation likely prevented any of those plans from going forward, preserving the island as a historic site, which became official in 1972 when Congress created the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. Today, Alcatraz is maintained by the National Park Service and is one of San Francisco's most popular tourist destinations, with more than a dozen ferries taking visitors to the island each day. When Mrs. Lewis and I visited San Francisco in 2026, we made sure to visit Alcatraz. The island is one of a kind, with breathtaking views of San Francisco Bay and plenty of interesting things to see. The island, as its name suggests, continues to be a haven for seabirds. We enjoyed winding our way through the Notorious cell house and took particular notice of the cells used for solitary confinement. The audio tour features insightful first-hand accounts from some of the guards who worked on the rock and from some of the men who did time there. During our visit, a friend asked one of the Park Service volunteers what was underneath the cell blocks. The volunteer asked us if we had 45 minutes to spare and graciously offered to give our small group a private tour of the basement area, which was part of the old citadel that had been built by the U.S. Army on the island more than 150 years ago. First, she showed us a section of the cell house that had only been used during Alcatraz's time as a military prison, and we then made our way down an old stairwell, donned hard hats, and were instructed not to touch the walls because of the toxic lead paint. It was fascinating to walk through those original defenses, which included a dry moat on the outer perimeter, which would have originally been open to the air, but was built over when it became part of the foundation for the prison cell house. We made our way through large storage areas, laundry facilities, and even kitchens, which still included remnants of the old ovens. There were even cells for soldiers who misbehaved, who became, I guess, the very first inmates on Alcatraz. We also found graffiti from the time of the Native American occupation of the island, as well as pipes that were installed for the prison facility above, and steel beams to support the weight of the cell house's construction. We also got the opportunity to view some of the artifacts that have been found down there. Thanks so much to Sue for the incredible tour. She helped make our visit to Alcatraz truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Here are other events that happened today in history. In AD 117, the Emperor Trajan, who expanded Rome's territory to its greatest size, dies at age 63. In 1806, Meriwether Lewis is accidentally shot in the final weeks of the famed Lewis and Clark expedition. In 1943, the German army begins evacuating the Italian island of Sicily during World War II. In 1965, the Watts riots begin in Los Angeles after two white policemen scuffle with a black motorist. In 1973, hip-hop is born as DJ Kool Herc uses two turntables to entertain at a party in the Bronx. In 1994, Major League Baseball players begin a strike that lasts the rest of the season. In 2014, comedian and Oscar-winning American actor Robin Williams dies by suicide at age 63. And now it's time for our Today in History quiz. Which U.S. president had a brother who died during a secret World War II operation? John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, Richard Nixon, or Gerald Ford? Liked learning about Alcatraz? Then you'll love this one about one of the most corrupt political figures in American history, Boss Tweed. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.